In today's session, we would be understanding the concept of soil and the various horizons and the layers of soil. So let's first start with what is soil. Soil is a natural body or natural layer that occurs on the top of the ground, and it occurs in various strata or various layers. This soil, there are two basic characteristics which we must understand. First is the thickness of the soil, and next is its parent constituents. Now, whenever we talk about soil, we have the various types of soils. The most common classification that we used is sand, silt, and clay. Now, if I am to define the size of a sand particle, a silt particle, and a clay particle, I can say if a sand particle is of the size of a beach ball, if I am assuming that a silt would be a size of frisbee or a disc, and a clay particle would be a size of a small coin or a dime. So the size of the sand particles, which is assumed to be of the size of beach ball, in reality is from 2 to 5 millimeters. A size of silt particle is 0.05 millimeters, while clay is less than 0.002 millimeters. So that is the actual size of the particles of sand, silt, and clay. Now, based on the region they are, you have different kind of soils that are found. Now, a desert region usually have a lot of sand. The reason being, since these particles are bigger, so if I say these are the kind of sand particles that are there, the water that percolates can go much deeper as compared to clay particles, which are very small, and since they are very small, they are placed adjacent or close to one another, or they have a very kind of tight packing as compared to sand particles. So movement of water is much more easier in sand particle. If I am saying about water logging or accumulation of water on the layer of soil, it would be more pronounced in case of clay particles as compared to sand particles. So this is the basic three kind of classification that we try to understand for sand, soil, that is sand, silt, and clay. Now let's get familiar with some of the common words that we use for soil analysis. First is padon. So padon is a hexagonal column of the soil. So whatever hexagonal column we try to understand are known as padon. The next term is polypadon. So poly word means many. So it's an accumulation of many padons, I can say, or I can explain it as it is a soil element with numerous characteristics. And then the study of soil is known as edaphology. It's the study of soil, its horizons or the layers of the soil, and that is what is known as edaphology. So these are some of the terms that we frequently use when we talk about soil and its structure. Now, Duguchev was one of the pioneer persons who did most of the research on soil sciences. He tried to classify the layers of soils based on the classification which he tried to interpret from UNESCO. You have the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO we call it. From there he tried to interpret and use the letters or the denominations to understand the soil structure. Now, what are horizons? So horizons are horizontal layers that we try to demarcate for the soil. So if I try to demarcate the soil in very fundamental horizontal layers, I can say the uppermost would be the layer of organic matter. So that would be the topmost layer where you will have the fallen leaves of the trees, you would have the dung and other residues, that is on the topmost layer. We call it the organic matter. Next to organic matter, you would have the surface soil. Surface soil has high accumulation of humus content because of the organic matter in the soil. The next is the subsoil. This subsoil comes below the surface soil, usually includes the B horizons. Then you have the parent rock, which is the original rock from which the soil is derived, usually includes the C and D horizon, which we will be discussing further. And finally you have the bedrock, and this bedrock denotes the R horizon. So this is the very fundamental classification that we will try to understand when we talk about horizons. Now let's understand once more how do we calculate the size of the particles. So gravel, so this is the size in inches and this is the size in millimeters. So if I have this much as the size of the gravel particle, this would be the size of sand particle, this would be the size of silt particle, and this a kind of invisible dot on this scale would be the size of clay particle. So this is the gradation of the size of particles. We can understand those in inches as well as in millimeters. Now if I draw a triangular diagram to understand the soil and its horizons, I will have clay, percentage of clay on one side, silt and sand on the other side. So sand particles are usually bigger in size. So here I have, if I try to redraw this is 0 to 100 and this is sand. This is 0 to 100 and this is clay. And this is 0 to 100 and this is silt. Now what I am trying to do is, the region which would be close to this, which has maximum of sand and say no clay particles, would be known as sandy soil. The region which is lying here, kind of this and this region, would be loamy sandy because you have a small amount of clay content here. And here it would be sandy loamy because sand is predominant, the amount of sand is more than the clay. So this soil would be known as sandy loamy and this would be known as loamy sandy. You would have this most corner which has 100% silt would be the region for silt. This region which has 100% clay and few content of silt would be, this whole region would be kind of clay. Then you have proportion of clay loamy soils. Here it would be higher proportion of clay, nearly equal proportion of clay and silt, but silt would be more, sits around 50%, 50 to 60%, so we call it silty clay, and here it would be silty clay loamy. Again here it would be sandy clay and so on. So we have the complete triangle, we call it soil triangle, or a diagram to understand the type of soil based on the content of clay, sand and silt in a specific soil. The next is understanding the horizons of the soil. Now this is the most important section that we would be focusing today. So the first section or the topmost layer, we called it as organic matter. So this organic matter includes the topmost two layers, that is these two sections, we call it O1 and O2. This is completely derived from organic matter. So O1 includes the organic matters that are visible. For example, rotten leaves, twigs of a tree and so on. The next is organic forms that are not visible, that have either decomposed into the soil or have now mixed up with the humus. So we call it kind of invisible forms, that is O2. Now there is another criteria that is used to define this organic layer. This criteria, we remember it as L, F and H. So you have L, F and H. L is the layer of litter, It is usually kind of accumulation of the little residues that are there in the soil. F is the layer of fermentation. So those litter that is accumulated in the topmost layer gets accumulated in the fermentation layer, and finally you have the H layer that forms a transition between the organic layer and the surface soil, and this H layer is known as humus. So it is decomposition of the organic material which is kind of not visible by naked eyes. So all the rotten leaves and twigs get decomposed, and this decomposed state would be known as humus, which would be the third layer. So for organic layer there are two classifications. First is O1, O2, and the next is L, F and H. The next is the surface soil. This surface soil is also classified as A1, A2 and A3. So these three would be included into the kind of surface soil. Now surface soil has good amount of humus accumulation, and this A, B together are known as soilum. So surface soil has humus, and this humus is a kind of decomposed material that resides on the topmost of the surface layer. Now before we start with the surface soil, that is A1, A2 and A3, there is another classification, we call it as P layer, and this P layer is known as the peat layer. This is the layer of organic matter usually found in the areas which are waterlogged. Due to waterlogging of the areas, there is formation of peat, and this replaces the organic layer in some of the cases, so we call it P layer sometimes. The next is again the surface layer that we would be discussing now. So it's one of the most biologically active layers. Most of the processes takes place under the layer of under A layer. So you have A1, which has mainly minerals, scissor oxides, iron, aluminium mixed with humus, and since it is humus, which is decomposition of the organic matter, the color is darker as compared to the soil below it. So if I try to take out the layers of the soil, the top layers would be darker as compared to the layers which are below those top layers. So A2 is the horizon of maximum leaching of clay, aluminium and iron oxides or scissor oxides. Now this A2 layer is a kind of bar where most of the clay can leach, and beyond it the leaching is not possible. A3 is a transition layer to B. It is more likely similar to A as compared to B, so we call it A3. The next is B. So classification of B, so all the three layers of B is included under subsoil. Now how are subsoil formed? Subsoils can be formed due to changes that occur in situ. In situ means within the soil. So whatever changes are occurring within the soil will lead to formation of the B layer or the subsoil, and also there are cases where it is formed due to overlying horizon. So whatever is lying above it, that would be another cause of the subsoil formation. Now the important thing to note here is, under the surface soil, which is the A layer, there is a process that occurs which is known as eluviation, and this eluviation is removal of nutrients and soil elements from the A layer, while in B layer there is a process known as eluviation, which means accumulation. So what technically happens is, whatever mineral is removed from the A layer, that goes and gets deposited or accumulated in the B layer. So we call it as zone of eluviation, and this is zone of eluviation. A better way to remember this is I stands for in. So that means going in, so it's accumulating. E means excluding. So exclude means to remove. So you are removing from the A layers and you are accumulating or putting in, I for in. So you are putting in into the B layer, which is known as which causes the accumulation. So these are two things that usually happen in A and B horizons. So B, you have again 3 layers. B1 is similar to A, but it is a transitional phase. The next is B2. It is the main zone and it is known as the zone of maximum accumulation of clay. So this is a question that is usually directly asked. Which is the zone of maximum accumulation of clay? The correct answer would be B2. While the question, if it is asked which is the zone of maximum leaching of clay, the answer would be A2. So this is the zone of maximum leaching of clay and this is the zone of maximum accumulation of clay. Now another way to understand this is why we call it as a zone of maximum leaching, because we have already understood in A horizon there is eluviation process and that is leaching, that is moving down. So you are removing the nutrients. So therefore that happens in A and it is the maximum leaching, while in B there is eluviation or accumulation or moving in of the material. So we call it zone of maximum accumulation of clay. So that is B2. So these are the two things that you most likely you must know to understand before you go further into the soil texture and soil characteristics. Now again B2 you have maximum accumulation of clay, aluminum oxide and other organic matters. B3 is a transition to C. It is more likely similar to B as compared to C. Therefore we include it as into a transition layer, and as you can see here the layer of B1 and B3 are smaller as compared to B2. So you have subsequent section of soil which falls under the category of B2, and similarly you have good amount of section that falls under a category of A2. The next is zone C. Now there are two other zones that we call, there is another zone D that is used mostly in Australian nations or Australian states. So what you have to understand here is under zone D, it is a zone of similar to parent rock with least weathering, but that is not familiar in other countries. In most of the countries we just use the classification till C. So we call it zone of least weathering, where no weathering of the rock takes place and there is accumulation of calcium and magnesium carbonates. So calcium and magnesium carbonates get accumulated under zone C. It is unconsolidated mineral horizon that we also call it as zone C. And finally you have zone R, which is known as rock, and from the word R you have the R zone. So it's known as the zone of bedrock. It is technically the parent rock with no weathering, no kind of biological processes, no physical processes, and it's a kind of continuous section of rock that is present. Now this was the various layers of soil that we have talked about, the various horizons of soil. Now the important thing to understand here is there were two things that were explained. First is the numbering and the other is the suffix. Now to understand the numbering, it's very clear. So you have the organic layer, surface layer, subsoil, the zone C or the parent rock and the bedrock. Now to understand this, we have further classified this as B1, B2 and B3 or A1, A2 and A3. So what we are doing here is we are including the concept of numbering, and that is for our simplification. We are trying to put numbers to understand the various layers or further bifurcate the layers of the soil. Now similar to numbering, we can use suffix. Suffix is something that is added towards the end, in contrast to prefix, which is added towards the beginning. So suffix is something that is added towards the end. So what happens is what we do is we add a letter towards the end. So for example, if I add a letter A, that means it's an organic matter. If I add a letter B, that means I am talking about burial of soil horizons. If I add a letter say K, I am talking about accumulation of carbonates and so on. So these suffixes which you can find in most of the textbooks are trying to help you understand that if I say A with A, I am trying to explain a specific characteristics of surface soil with this suffix that I am trying to include, or if I say AK, I am trying to explain another specific criteria of that soil, surface soil with the suffix. So with this we cover the concept of soil and its horizons. In the next class we would be covering the concept of soil texture and soil characteristics.